Ghana, under Jerry Rawlings, was just one of the countries caught on the wave of change, even if there and elsewhere the heads of state would themselves stand for election. Babangida feared that economic hardship might unhinge these new democracies. His concern for political reform extended throughout Africa. In 1992, he'll bring together warring factions in Sudan for peace talks at Abuja. Similarly, he stressed the need for democracy in South Africa. He had long argued for sanctions to end apartheid. So it was no surprise when Nelson Mandela's first visit to West Africa after his release was to Nigeria. April 1992, just 2 years after Mandela's visit, and Babangida welcomes President de Klerk to Nigeria. Commentators saw this as an attempt to encourage South Africa towards non-racial elections. Babangida was well placed to exert this influence. He had helped set up talks in Namibia between SWAPO and the South Africans, which had led to elections there. The president also raised the idea of inviting South Africa into the OAU. In the background was the prospect of more trade between two of Africa's largest economies.
I see South Africa remaining important for Nigeria's foreign policy. Not because we are the champions of apartheid, which by then should be dead, but because South Africa can become an important trading partner.
In fact, trade was to be at the heart of Babangida's foreign policy. At the OAU summit in Abuja, leaders signed a treaty to set up the African Economic Community. Babangida, as an advocate of free trade, backed this ambitious plan for a common market. It not only aimed to bring down tariff barriers between African countries, it even proposed an African single currency and central bank within a few decades. Some thought this was all pie in the sky, but many others didn't.
I think, like in every human affair, who was it? Browning, the English poet, who said, a man's reach must be further than his grasp, or else what's heaven for? I think it's much more than a gesture. The African countries realize that they have had very little intra-African trade. They have tended to look outwards. They want now to encourage a greater degree of self-reliance and self-sufficiency, and a much greater degree of trade and business connections within the continent. And that's what motivated the AEC. And I believe that if they are able to pursue that objective vigorously, that it will yet become something quite realizable.
It's rather distant in goal, I would have thought. I think the regional ones at least should be strengthened and made a bit more credible before we then say, okay, from the learning curve of setting up regional ones, maybe we can tackle the continental one. But again, you must understand that what we're talking about is the desire of Africans too to create their own trading blocks, since the rest of the world seems to be doing the same.
One of the AEC's aims was to strengthen groupings like the West African Economic Community, known as ECOWAS. And here, most observers agreed much remained to be done. When not long after the OAU summit, Babangida hosted ECOWAS, many once again asked, why were links between West African countries still so weak? Babangida had always supported ECOWAS. He'd been chairman 3 times, and Nigeria stuck to its tariff agreements. Unfortunately, others didn't. Trade barriers had stayed, and it seemed a shame.